So the central idea to Bykea is that. That's the gist of Bykea, right? How do we enable people to use technology, okay, to try and make a little bit of money on the side, okay, and augment their income? So again, the idea of utility, right? Using technology for utility and not for entertainment.
Hi, I'm Dana Yao, your host on the Emerging Markets Tech Startups podcast. While traveling to over 90 countries, I was inspired by the entrepreneurial spirit across startup communities in Africa, Latin America, Asia, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe. On the show, we bring you stories from entrepreneurs, startup ecosystem innovators, and investors. We discuss what makes these markets culturally and historically unique, local trends, local challenges consumers and founders face, and the opportunities. Let's get started. So Rafiq, it's so exciting to have you here. Well, one fun thing, I realized your first name and your last name rhymes.
Yeah, Rafiq Malik, yeah, that's what my friends used to call me in Canada. They used to play around with it a lot. But yeah, thank you for recognizing that.
It's so much fun. It's so great to have you on the show. So Rafiq is the CEO of Bykea.
And Bykea is the fastest growing ride hailing and delivery service based out of Pakistan with 220 million people. Bykea just raised $13 million at the end of 2020. Anyways, enough spoilers. We have Rafiq here who's going to tell us about himself and how he found himself at probably the fastest growing company in Pakistan.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you for having me. My name is Rafiq Malik. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Bykea and one of the founding members. A little bit about myself. Born and bred in Pakistan. Got my schooling done here. Had the opportunity to go abroad to Canada to get a higher education. Managed to get myself a job. Worked in the logistics industry.
And Rafiq, there was something interesting I noticed about your background. You've been in the logistics and transportation industry all of your life. What is it about this space that makes you so passionate?
And so I wanted to work in an industry which was physical, which was tangible. I could see things. You know, in the logistics industry, there's a lot of movement. You know, there's warehouses, there's cargo, there's freight, there's trucks. Exactly, right. And you plan around capacity where you send a truck from, let's say, Toronto, Canada to Chicago, Illinois, USA. And you're trying to figure out how you're going to fill that capacity, right? It's space moving, essentially.
Wow, you couldn't have been a more perfect archetype of a chief operating officer. The CEO of Bykea must have felt so lucky when he found you. So no surprise that you ended up at Bykea, but tell us about the rest of your journey leading up to Bykea.
So I managed to do that, and I again worked in the courier and express industry here for a company called TNT Express, which was the fourth largest aggregator in the world at the time. And then once that happened, I sort of met Muneeb Maayr, who is our CEO and founder. And Muneeb had founded or co-founded the local e-commerce player, which is the Raz.pk, which is the largest e-commerce platform in Pakistan.
And that was one of the companies in the Rocket Internet portfolio, yeah?
Yeah, that was a Rocket Internet company at the time. It got sold to Alibaba recently, and Muneeb had left that, and he was basically toying. He was basically looking to start Bykea, and there were a few people involved already. Manan, who was sort of our CTO, had already aligned with him. Manan and Muneeb worked together at the Raz prior to Bykea. And then I came along, and we kind of just sort of...
How did you guys find each other? What was that first? We always say the co-founders first times were like dating. What was that first date like?
It was interesting. You know, Muneeb has a knack for finding the right people. So he had heard about me. I had heard about him. We had never met. And he just called me out of the blue, and he said, "Hey, mate, I think you're the right guy to do this with. Would you like to? Yeah. Would you like to meet me?" And I said,
"That's forward.
Let's hear you out, right?" And he pitched it to me, and I said, "Okay." I didn't really understand it at first, and I said, "Okay, let me just sort of wrap my head around it a little bit." Did a bit more research, discovered Gojek, discovered Grab, figured out how this works. Discovered Uber, all of these companies.
So what sold you?
What sold me was the sheer market size. What sold me was basically because Uber and Careem had entered Pakistan at that time. And now we're talking like this is June, July, 2016, right? They had been around for about 7-8 months, maybe even a year. But one thing they had done is they had explained to the Pakistani consumer how a taxi can be called at a click of a button. So they had done the legwork on that, okay, which I thought would be easy for us to convert that user for our own product as well, because they had sort of done the marketing and spent the money to explain that concept to people. Number two was the sheer market size. When we looked at the number of cars in this country in 2016, there were 4 million cars, but there were 17 million motorcycles, right? And 17, so it was a 4x market. It was a 4x market on the supply side of the business, right? And the idea from the onset was not to have these guys come in and sign them up and make them full-time supply or full-time drivers on the platform. That was never the intention. The intention was, what are the two most expensive assets in Pakistan that a common man owns? One is a motorcycle these days. One is a motorcycle and the other is a smartphone, right? And how do you allow him or give him the opportunity to leverage those assets to try and make an income or a secondary income? So the central idea to Bykea is that. That's the gist of Bykea, right? How do we enable people to use technology, okay, to try and make a little bit of money on the side, okay, and augment their income? So again, the idea of utility, right? Using technology for utility and not for entertainment. And that's what really got me going. I said, look, there are 17 million motorcycles in this country. Today, they're like 20 odd million, 22 million today, right? 4 years down the road. How do we get each one of these guys to come onto our platform and literally just do one ride a day? That's all we need to do. If we do that, we won, right? And till this day, that's the fight we're fighting. So we're trying to incentivize, not really incentivize, but we're trying to educate people to come onto our platform and literally just share their seat with one passenger a day while they're going to work, while they're coming back from work, while they're running an errand, what have you, right? And that way, we don't have to pay them a bonus or an incentive to be on our platform. In fact, we can charge them a 15% finder's fee commission, which is our take rate, right?
Rafiq, that focus on utility is so inspiring because I know working in emerging markets, a lot of the people think of the internet as just for entertainment, as a distraction. Hence, letting people turn their mobile phone into a source of income can be so empowering.
That's the central idea for Bykea. And from day one, that was very clear. Muneeb made that very, very clear that this is why we're doing this. And that's what really got me. And I said, yeah, this guy understands what he's doing. He's done it before. He's done it a few times before, rather. He's a good guy. I'm going to work with him. I'm going to follow him. And that's when we went into battle together.
Nice.
So yeah. So it's been an interesting.
Love at first sight.
It's absolutely. And you know what? He's a fantastic guy to work for.
Is like you said, it's such a large addressable market, and the mission you guys sound like you're on is to really help people earn that extra piece of income and to bring all this extra supply in the market that's being underutilized, basically, into work. But I'm curious, the 17 million people, are those the type of people that need that extra income to provide a ride for someone? Are they middle class, or they're more the everyday person?
Okay, a motorcycle costs $300 in Pakistan, right? Because obviously, look, it's the preferred mode of transportation for the common man, right? You have to understand that people don't make a lot of money in Pakistan, right? People make $200 a month, right? $150 a month, right? That's like $1,800 a year. Even that, I'm overestimating here. I'm being very liberal with that number, right? So affording a car is not even. It's like it's a dream, right? It's a pipe dream. They're not even thinking along those lines, but they do need to move around, right? So how do they move around? Either they take the local transit, okay, which is a private bus network in Karachi, and now the government has started a metro in cities like Lahore and Islamabad. By the way, we're in Karachi, which is in the south of the country. A lot of these people have to move, right? I mean, kids have to go to school, people have to go to colleges, people have to commute to work. How do they get around? right? They take the buses, okay? There are these local wagons or local tuk-tuks, also rickshaws. I don't know if you're familiar with the word rickshaw. It's you've been here, so you've probably seen them. But it's basically a tuk-tuk. Okay, it's a three-wheeler. So people were generally using this, right? And then like I said, right, the likes of Careem and Uber had entered the space, and basically had, but they had catered to the top line, right? They had catered to the upper echelons of society, where somebody would be able to afford to pay $2 or $3 for a fare, for a 7-8 kilometer journey, right? But if I'm earning $200 a month and I'm spending $6-7 a day in commuting, I mean, that's where all my money goes, right? I can't afford it.
So you're seeing that with these earnings, they were very okay to make this a part-time thing, or do you see most of your drivers making this their full-time thing?
70% of our supply is part-time. So we do have a certain base. We do have a 30% base, 25-30% base that does use Bykea as a full-time job. They will drive, they will spend 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. They will do 14, 15 transactions a day. Okay, but then they will also make 10, 12, $13 a day, right, on the platform, right? And they are profiled as gold fleet partners. They've been with the platform a long time. This is their bread and butter. This is what they do. But really, 75% of our supply are guys who are literally just coming onto the platform and using it like an ATM machine. Think of it that way. They use Bykea as an ATM machine. You need a couple of dollars right now? Take a couple of rides. You'll get cash. You'll earn cash.
So Rafiq, I know today, beyond just ride hailing, Bykea does a ton of deliveries. So talk us through a little bit about that. Was that part of the initial mission when the company started?
So the initial product always had, so it was a radio button between ride hailing or delivery. So from the get-go, it was really just, we knew that the motorcycle could be cross-utilized, right? We had seen it, Muneeb had seen it in the e-commerce industry with Daraz. I had seen it with TNT Express on the courier side of it. So we understood that animal really, really well. We recognized what that animal is capable of, and we plugged that into this platform. And we said, why can't a guy, if he can move a person, he can move a parcel, right? And slowly we layered on concierge services, where we said, okay, not only just move parcels, but he can go buy something for you and bring it to you. And eventually, then we layered another category of payments, where we said, okay, a guy can come to your doorstep, pick up cash from you, because you have to also recognize that Pakistan is predominantly a cash economy, right? Digital currency is still very nascent here, right? Yes, we've made inroads. Yes, COVID has helped, all of that in a weird way, but it's still very cash dependent, right? And
so you mentioned Uber and Careem were targeting the top 1%. Do you see Bykea as a company targeting the everyday people?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So the first thing we did, right, we recognized that, look, the app needs to be in our language. Okay, Bykea was actually the first app that was built in Urdu.
I remember, because when I was there, I downloaded Bykea wanting to use it, and I'm like, I don't understand anything.
We did not even have an English option. For the first 2 years of the business, we did not even have an English option. We did not have an iOS app. We only had an Android app, because Android is the preferred platform in Pakistan, because it's cheaper. So we had an app in Urdu, okay, because we said, look, we're going to address a strata of society that is not comfortable in the English language. Okay, they can't read it. Maybe they aspire to speak it, okay, and read it, but they're not fluent in it. So let's make an app. If we're going to address that strata, let's reduce the hurdles, right? Let's give them something that they're comfortable with. And to be honest, we got a lot of flack for that, okay? Because people said, oh, it's not cool. Why'd you make a product in Urdu? And we're like, dude, this is not a cool product. This is a product for utility. It's use it to get stuff done. It's not for entertainment purposes, right? And it was very simplistic.
How did you guys acquire your first few users?
So obviously, the first people that we targeted were people. So we used Facebook, we used the likes of Google to get our messaging out initially, right? And a lot of our seed capital went into the online marketing space, right? That's how we got the word out. Yeah, we tried to brand our drivers as well. We gave them free helmets, free jackets, so people could start recognizing the brand when they would see a Bykea driver. By the way, we call our driver partner, so I'll use that word from here on. If you see a Bykea partner on the road, you start recognizing the brand.
I can definitely confirm when I was in Pakistan last March, the Bykea green and the logo was everywhere. It's definitely a very pervasive and recognizable brand.
And initially, people did not understand how a motorcycle would be used for ride hailing. So in our initial research, people would always tell us, yes, we understand the delivery value proposition, but we don't understand the ride hailing value proposition. Who would sit in the back of a motorcycle?
Why didn't they understand it? Was it a safety thing, or was it just something they hadn't experienced before?
It is just a concept that they had not experienced before. We pioneered the concept in Pakistan. People just did not understand how this would work, right? Until it was done and demonstrated, then they start, and the people tried it and they're like, oh, this is easy. Okay, I press a button, a guy shows up in 5 minutes, I hop on, and I get delivered to where I need to go to in 15, 20, 30 minutes, right? Depending on where he needs to go. And it cost me, one third the price, okay? And
faster, because motorcycles can weave between cars.
Exactly the next point that I was going to make, right? The time factor, it's faster. You zip through traffic, right? And that's what got people going, right? And they're like, oh, I can just take a Bykea and be from point A to point B in like 20 minutes, right? 23 minutes is the average transaction time that we see on our platform, right?
So you had to educate the market, I'm hearing.
We did that. We did have to do that a lot, and even today we do it a lot, such that I think we've reached a point, and I'm really happy to report that in the last, I think that the digital presence in Pakistan has finally taken off, such that people are now buying more smartphones. The telecom companies are throwing out really affordable plans. So the entire ecosystem is coming together to sort of build this momentum, right? Which we're seeing. However, there is still a large percentage of our country. So let's say if we say there are 220 million people in Pakistan, right? That's a stat that gets thrown around a lot, right? Out of the 200 million people in Pakistan, I think really there are about 75 million, 60 million unique people who have smartphones in this country. That's our gauge on the situation, okay? Which means that that's still only 20-30% of your country, right? There is still a big chunk of your country which is offline, which is on a feature phone.
And how are you building products to serve this offline population in Pakistan?
So we also have a service actually, where you can call in, okay, and book a Bykea through a number, right? It's 0307 1234567, right? Easy number to remember, and an agent will assist you as well, will make the booking for you. So we see transactions happening on that vertical as well, right? Because so again, going back to the offline strategy that we've implemented, right? We have now deployed agents in the market. We've tried to so let me explain something. Bykea is essentially a network of motorcycles, right? It's essentially that's the core business. It's a network of motorcycles that can pick you up from point A to point B, pick up your parcel, go fetch something for you, and now even collect cash from you, and eventually also come and disperse cash to you. So somebody like a savvy user would be able to charge a card on our platform, okay, and the closest Bykea driver would have, if he has the cash, would come over and drop off the cash to the customer.
That is so exciting. These Bykea drivers, partners, are basically like mobile ATMs.
ATM, exactly. Because look, we also have to recognize that a lot of the e-commerce in Pakistan is not digital currency. It's a cash on delivery play, which means that let's say I buy a parcel from your website, okay, and you ship it to me via a motorcycle driver, okay, the parcel gets delivered to me, okay, and in lieu of that delivery, I pay the amount, the purchase value to the driver. So let's say it's $5. I'll give $5 cash to the driver. Okay, now we've run into a situation where our drivers are holding cash in the market, right? They're holding cash and they're moving around, they're zipping around, picking people, dropping people, picking up a parcel, using that cash to purchase stuff for customers, getting reimbursed upon delivery. So now we need to reposition that cash somehow. So we're trying to figure out how can we reposition that cash, right? And one of the ways that we think will work is allow the savvy customers who do have digital cards and digital currency, either in the form of a wallet balance or a credit card or a debit card, should be able to charge their card onto our platform, okay, and request cash at doorstep. And we will do the matchmaking between the requester and our driver.
That's what excites me, because I'm hearing innovation from other ecosystems. Like here, the ATM is coming to you, so I don't have to go bother to walk 5 blocks to go find an ATM.
I'm consistently impressed by the rate of innovation happening in emerging markets. I mean, it first started with M-Pesa in Kenya, which made every corner mom and pop shop into an ATM instead of needing to have a huge bank. And now examples like Bykea turning drivers into mobile ATMs that are coming to you.
Absolutely.
It seems like a core part of your guys' strategy really was to localize. And that's where I'm hearing the startups that are local, that have built in the country, like Bykea, are able to beat their competitors. But I'm curious, was there any research that you guys found, or even in your last 4 years of working, of insights that actually surprised you about a country that you had spent a significant amount of time in?
So I'll give you a very interesting example, right? In our app, there's an ability to enter a destination, right? And which works exactly like, for example, Google Maps does, where you go and type in a particular landmark or a particular street, right? And it'll pop up and you click on the right one, right? However, we recognize, right, that because Google Maps is all in English, okay, a lot of people can't spell. They can't type in English, right? They can type, but they can't spell correctly. So they would be spelling streets with a different spelling and not realizing that they were clicking on the wrong place. And what would happen is that the driver would pick you up, but drop you in a completely different destination from where you wanted to go to, right? So we localized. We created a menu, and in the menu we wrote in Urdu and in English, okay, names of zones. So we zoned our cities, okay, and it was a 2-tier zoning menu where you would first select the overarching area that you would want to go to. So let's say I want to go from point A to point B, so I would select the general direction of point B, and then when I would do that, it would give me a more detailed version or detailed list of areas at point B. And then I would go select, I want to go to this specific area, right? And that changed the game entirely, because our fulfillment levels went up drastically, because what happened was people who before could not type correctly in English did not have to. They would just look at a menu and they would read in Urdu, which is their native language, or in English, whichever language they're comfortable in. Okay, so Urdu actually, the Urdu script is actually the Arabic script. So it starts from the other side. So English starts from left to right, Arabic starts from right to left. So it was very easy for us to display both on either side of that form in the app. And they would just go, and it was just a menu selection then. We ourselves discovered after like being in the business for like 2 years, because we recognize that our people, and it's not only that, our people can't even type in their own language. Like if you ask me to type something in Urdu, I'll struggle with it. Right? That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate because there's a two-tier education system in Pakistan. There's an English medium system, and then there's an Urdu medium system. And the people who are slightly well off or affluent go to the English medium schools, and the unfortunate people who don't have such resources end up going to the Urdu medium school.
Bykea's attentiveness to meet users where they're at is so impressive. From making the service to offline users available, and now to helping users who are less digitally literate get to where they need to go.
Versus some other companies, you hear the stories of Uber initially going to India and insisting to do credit cards when most of the ecosystem didn't have it. So are you kind of seeing that, where your guys' localization is actually leading to higher growth than some of your competitors? And how are you treating your competitors? Are you kind of ignoring them, or are you?
And I think what's happened in the last few years, we've raised now a substantial Series B investment last year. And the investors that have come in, NASPers, they were previously called NASPers, they're now called Process. These are the guys who got it right on the WeChat deal, right? And they've invested a lot of money elsewhere as well. So they're big boys, right? They're deep pockets. So I don't think we're really concerned now with competition per se, because we've managed to localize our product. We're quite ahead also in the game from them. Especially we're only in one category. We're just on the motorcycle category, right? I mean, they have multiple categories where they're in the motorcycle business, they're in the car business, they're in the three-wheeler business, and they're trying to hack three different channels, right? But we're focusing on just one channel because we believe that this is what moves the masses, right? It's affordable. There's plenty of them out there. We just need to sign them up on our platform, right? So I don't really consider conventional competition as competition, right? I don't think that we're scared of those guys. I think what we are scared of is the adoption in Pakistan, is the adoption rate in Pakistan. What keeps me up at night is why are not many people adopting technology fast enough? That's the battle that we're fighting literally at a ground level in the trenches daily, right? Like I said, we've got teams deployed, we've got agents, we've created another network of agents in the market that have become Bykea resellers. So a small shop, which is, let's say, a communication shop, what does that communication shop do? It sells phone credit. It will sell stuff like headphones, chargers, accessories for your phones, maybe even cell phones. Okay, and there's one in every market in Pakistan, and there are like 150,000 of these guys. So we've gone in our 3 cities and signed these guys up and given them the ability to become a Bykea brand ambassador for that market and a reseller for that market. Okay, and the way the transaction works is that if he books a transaction for another person in that market, and let's say people may have delivery needs, people may have ride-hailing needs in that market, that guy gets a 20-cent commission on each transaction that he books for us, and that commission actually comes out of the customer's pocket. It's not an incentive that Bykea pays. So what that has done for us, number one, it's created visibility because we've branded some of these shops. So it's created visibility in the offline world, right? So we're not a ghost company. We're pretty visible, right? And number two, that guy is incentivized now to earn an extra, $4, $5, $10 from us daily, right? And he goes around reselling our value proposition, and that localizes us into local neighborhoods. These are areas that I can't walk into and talk to people and explain to them because I may not speak the same language as they do, right? Or they may see me as an outsider, right? But the guy who's had a shop in that locality for the last 5 years or 10 years is one of them, is one of their own, right? And if he's selling something, then they might buy it. And that's the idea. The idea is how do you get into the granularity of that neighborhood? How do you entrench yourself, right? And that's how you do it. You get one of their own to sell the value proposition to them.
And that is so powerful. And you see telco companies use exactly this. That's why they're selling these internet packets.
That's how we figured this out. We actually just saw what they did. We studied them. We said, these guys have gotten into the nooks and crannies of the country that no other brand or nobody else has been able to penetrate. How have they done it? They've literally just gone and made a brand ambassador in every neighborhood.
And it's a relatively inexpensive way to market. I was working with a telco in Kenya, and they told me the businesses actually loved when they were asked to brand their local shop, the telco's brand, because it meant they got free paint, they got free swag.
Yeah, so they created hierarchies, right? There's the company, then there's a franchise network, then there's a retailer network, and then there's a consumer, right? The end consumer. And that's exactly what Bykea did. We went in, we created a franchise network. Last year, when we raised, 2 years ago, when we raised Series A, um, we took our acquisition, our driver acquisition offline, right? We used to acquire drivers online through online marketing, okay? And we made a conscious decision of opening franchises in locations. And the idea for that franchise was that he was to go and garner supply for us, because if I have a store in a particular neighborhood and people come to my store to buy chips, groceries, what have you, right? I know everybody in my neighborhood. I know Diana, I know what she does, I know where she works. I have an idea as to how much money she also makes because, she comes and spends at my store, right? So she's not the right profile to pitch Bykea to, but Mr. X, this guy's got a few free hours in a day, and let me pitch the value proposition to him. So we actually did exactly that. We got these local mom and pop shops to become our local ambassadors and franchises. And they started bringing supply into the platform. And obviously we incentivized them at first, and slowly we sort of, we took that incentive down to sustainable levels, right? So initially, obviously, we spent money incentivizing them so they would catch on and it would take off, right? And then we sort of fine-tuned the incentive as that model grew, right? It became more prevalent.
I'm just so baffled and impressed by all these strategies you guys have come up with. I mean, this is the third section of what we're talking about, growth strategies. So from all the ones that you've listed, which have you found actually contributes to the most adoption? Like you had mentioned, how many users are on the platform today?
So about monthly average users are about 500,000.
So what contributed to that 500,000? What would you say was the strongest?
So a couple of things went into that, right? So look, obviously, when you start becoming visible, right? I drive my car on the road and I see a billboard, or I keep seeing the brand over and over again. It starts to become legitimate in my brain, right? Because subconsciously I'm seeing it, right? I'm seeing it. I go on YouTube, I see a Bykea ad. I go to work, on the way I see a Bykea office, with a board with branding outside. I'll see 5 guys with helmets, with Bykea helmets. I'm like, these guys are freaking everywhere, man. Like, what's going on?
So this repetitiveness or this following you everywhere, I think, is a key part of it.
Exactly. So you're constantly reinforcing your brand imagery, right? And what happens is that people start taking you seriously, and then they start seeing you, and then like, man, okay, these guys are doing something right, and then once people start thinking that, then the conversion becomes easier. Then the adoption, then to sell them your value proposition becomes easier because they've already kind of given in. So we found that the hand-holding ability that our franchise network. So initially our franchise network was supply driven, and this year post Series B, we've also now converted it on the demand side of the business, which means that. So we've kind of solved supply a little bit, right? We don't have that problem anymore in Bykea. We have enough drivers on our platform, and we kind of understand that really well now. So we know which levers we have, which ones we can pull to increase supply or to decrease supply, and to create that equilibrium between supply and demand, such that drivers are not complaining that they don't have enough work, and customers are not complaining that there's never a driver available. Right, so you kind of have to watch the business really, really carefully, and to be honest, we eyeball the business every hour, right? We have a every hourly, we have a run rate, every hourly run rate that we're all looking at. Like, it's just popped up on my computer screen right now because it's 101 here. It's like, every hour we're like, okay, what is it in comparison to last week? What is it in comparison to yesterday? How many drivers have worked? How many customers have booked rides? How many rides have we fulfilled? What's gone wrong, what's gone right.
Like every hour that it's popping up, what will trigger you to do something different?
If I don't see growth this week compared to the same day last week in the same hour, I'm gonna raise a red flag with my operations team.
Wow, pressure on.
Right? I'm gonna say, what's happening? We're pumping in marketing dollars. We've got teams deployed in the market. We've got our branding strategy. It's all playing out. Why are my numbers not growing? What's going on? Has competition done something? Maybe they've introduced a promo, and some discount hunting customers have gone there in the last hour. or they've introduced an added incentive for drivers and maybe some of my suppliers.
Wow, talk about sense of urgency.
We're going to try and dissect it like literally in real time. And going back to that real-time strategy, as I had mentioned before, that fix the problem now. I'm not going to let it linger till tomorrow, because then it's old news. It's gone. I haven't fixed it.
And this is a great segue to the last portion, because I'm hearing themes of it. What is the culture within Bykea that drives this localization, this attention to detail on the hourly rate? Like, what do you feel is special about this company versus other startups, other companies you looked at before?
Look, I think personally, it's like a child, right? It's something that we built together, right? I mean, 4 guys came together 4 years ago and sort of built this company, right? And Muneeb obviously leading from the front, and all the ideas and a lot of the strategy and a lot of the pounding the pavement culture comes from him as well, right? I mean, he's also an operator in his own right? Even though I'm in charge of operations, but he's also hustling all the time to sort of get it done, right? And if it's not getting done by me, he's going to step in and sort of do it himself, right? And that's what really.
What does that look like? Pounding the pavement. I love that terminology.
Pounding the pavement is just in the thick and thin of it, like the daily rigmarole of work, right? The daily rigmarole of work of making sure that you get it done, right? So like I said, like every hour, the entire management team just looks at those numbers and they're like, okay, something is wrong or something is right, and we try and figure out what's wrong and what's right, and I think that culture really it comes from the leaders of the business, right? I think we're pretty hands-on guys. Like I said, I think we like to work. I especially like to work in the trenches. I like to figure out things, talk to drivers, talk to customers, and really get the real feel of our product and its usability, right? And how it's being utilized. Because we may think of a particular service in a particular way, but the market may adopt it in an entirely different manner, right? And then we have to figure out why they adopted it this way, right? What did we not think of that they actually figured out, right? So there's a constant back and forth of intelligence gathering and data gathering and create and curating that data such that it becomes intelligence for us, right? So I think that it's a strong culture on data management. Okay, so we're big on data. We look at it every which way. Okay, we have like dashboards where we're constantly trying to figure out and optimize, right? And again, look, it's about optimization, because at the end of the day, it's all hunky-dory to raise venture capital money and keep spending it, right? And keep increasing the valuation of your company on paper. But if your product does not serve a purpose or it's not widely adopted, it's not sustainable. You have to make it such that a customer keeps coming back wanting more, right? And that's what really drives the culture in the company. How do we get our customers to keep coming back and booking us over and over again? And for various services, he doesn't have to take more than one ride booking a day, but he can maybe do a delivery as well, right?
As your team grows bigger, I mean, how big is the organization now?
So we've got about, I think about 180 odd people now.
What values will stick no matter how large the company grows?
I think so we keep reiterating this to ourselves, right? That we can't lose the agility and the startup mindset, right? As we become a larger organization, the stakes get, higher. What's kept us really afloat and ahead of the curve, I think, is the ability to take quick decisions and make quick tweaks and changes to our product, right? Our product does not have to go through layers of approvals, in different countries today, right? I'm not saying that that's not going to be the case 5 years from now if we end up building this business and hopefully taking it to the next level. But today we have to be nimble and agile, I think, and we are, right? We're again, like I said, we're pretty tuned in most of the times, and I think that allows us to make quick changes if need be. But I think we can't lose sight of the fact that we still have to operate like a startup. So one of the things that I always say to people is that in Bykea, what happens is that an idea takes shape or is born, okay, and then the ops team is basically asked to go and execute that idea offline first, to see and figure out even if it has legs. And once it has legs, then it goes into product and development and engineering, right? So we try and mess around with concepts. We flirt with concepts, right? And we're like, okay, this concept is not really working. Let's change it. Let's tweak it this way. Let's put it up on its head. Let's put it right side up, and then we crack it. We try and crack it as much as we can, in a small, quick time frame. And then we go back with our findings and we say, guys, okay, well, we envisioned it like this, but really it's not going to work like that, the way we envisioned it. We're going to have to turn it up on its head. And that's how we made it work. And then the product team has to go and rejig how they thought about it. And then that translates into engineering, epic documents and whatnot, right?
To all the startup founders listening to this, experimentation and speed is key for success.
Battle first mentality of trying to sort of just play it out in the field before we actually spend expensive engineering hours to build a product and then discover that this is not really something that the people are going to use or they don't want.
This has been so enlightening. Every part of how you guys execute. And even the words, we're going into the battleground on the field. I just feel the sense of talk about the startup culture. There's so much excitement there, enthusiasm, and wanting to win. So I love the hustle. And I'm so glad we had you on the show.
Thank you for having me, giving us the opportunity to tell a little bit about ourselves and about the Bykea story. And please keep following us. Many new fun things on the horizon. So, hopefully we were able to deliver and keep the people's trust. And, thank you for everybody who supported us over the years as well.
Hey guys, you just got an insider view into the fastest growing startup based out of Pakistan of 220 million people. In the coming episodes, we're going to be recording ones just like this from the fastest growing tech companies in emerging markets. So make sure you subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss the next episode. And if we got you excited about the Pakistani market today, make sure to check out my episode on the Pakistani startup ecosystem with Jihan Atta, who is the startup queen of the ecosystem. Until next time.